They gave it a name to bury the shame, but we know what happened here, and we ain't going quiet. He was just a child, lost inside the dark. Someone made a choice that left its mark. They wrote it in a file, called it something wrong, and gave the crime a label to help it move along. It's not what they call it, was never her fault. A child cannot consent to her own assault. We see you in the shadows, your time is running thin. Justice has a long memory, and we remember them. No choice was ever given, no decision ever made. Just a predator with power, and a system that looked away. Strip away the language that was never even true. Call it what it really was, your day of reckoning is due. It's not what they call it, it was never her fault. A child cannot consent to her own assault. We see you in the shadows, your time is running thin. Justice has a long memory, and we remember them. They call it something softer to protect a guilty lame. Wrote it in a report to hide who was to blame. Prostitution, that's their word, not ours, not hers, not right. A label built to shield the men who prey on kids at night. To every name buried in the wrong kind of file, to every child blamed for another man's crime, we are rising from the silence. We are carrying the light. No label will silence you, not on our watch tonight. It's not prostitution, it's assault. It's not a transaction, it's not a fault. Strip away the labels, stand in the light. Call it trafficking, and then you fight. Predators beware, your names will be known. Every crime you committed, every seed that you've sown. No more silence, hiding behind misused words. Every child's voice will be heard. A child cannot consent, not at 12, not at 15, not at 12 and not ever. When you call it prostitution, you and the predator an alibi. When you call it what it is, you hand the survivor their truth back. Silence is betrayal, and we are done. Be silent.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Thanks, Doc. Hey, Fala, Irish. How you girls doing? Good to see you tonight. I know everybody has been hearing so much about the Epstein files, but it's one of those things that we can't let die. So, greetings to the trial junkies and the truth seekers and the justice warriors. I'm Z, your storyteller, and tonight we're going into the wilderness of injustice, and it's big. With my ride or die Doc, riding shotgun as we navigate the darkness where the predators hunt and the system fails. And we're going to shine a light on these stories. And they don't want us to. They want them to be buried. So buckle up. The path ahead grows bumpy as we lead you through another section of this nightmare they call the justice system. Doc, are you ready to go?
I'm always ready.
Thank goodness. I appreciate that. Hey, Ken, thanks for joining us. So tonight, we're going to go into the Epstein files. Not just Jeffrey, though. We're going to talk about the network, the money, and the silence. The people who knew and did nothing. But before we get to Epstein, I want to start somewhere else. I want to start with journalist Lisa Ling, who had a show that she put on YouTube talking about the 3 a.m. girls. And she went out on the streets at 3 in the morning in Washington, D.C., 6 blocks from the White House, to find something almost invisible. And what was it? She found were girls as young as 10, 11, 12, bought and sold for sex, while the people who make the laws of our land sleep in their beds a few blocks away. In her reporting, she found a girl at 5 in the morning in glitter pants, walking probably toward wherever she was going for home. She didn't even really know how to walk in the heels. That was what was so sad. And then her pimp was there in a pickup truck. And when he noticed they had cameras, man, he drove and yelled at her and got her in the truck and took off. So it's not a stranger who grabbed her, someone who had groomed her, someone who made her feel like she had no other choice. And Lisa Ling asked a U.S. State Department ambassador point blank, why do we call these girls prostitutes instead of trafficking victims? His answer was clear. Under federal law, any person under 18 involved in commercial sex is automatically a trafficking victim. Doesn't matter if they say they choose it, a child does not have the legal capacity to consent, period. So why for years were they arrested as criminals and sent to juvenile hall? Because the system was not built to protect them. It was built to protect the people buying, the Johns, the pimps. And that's exactly what happened with the Epstein monster. This isn't just about one man, though. This is about a network of power, protection, and deliberate silence that allowed abuse to persist for decades. One of the most powerful tools that network had actually was the single word prostitution. Because in 2008, when the Epstein monster finally did have minimal consequences, he was charged with solicitation of prostitution and procuring a minor for prostitution. He served 13 months with work release. He would supposedly go out to work and then return to the jail and sleep there at night. And of course, he had visitors while he was there. The girls, yeah, they came in to see him. So he was still abusing them. And the non-prosecution agreement that protected him and all of his associates was negotiated quietly with the victim's attorneys kept in the dark. And here's why that word choice matters enormously. Because under the prostitution framing, The focus is on the act, the exchange of money for sex. It frames these children as participants in a transaction. And under human trafficking law, the focus is on the exploitation system, the recruiting, the grooming, the control, the movement of human beings for sexual use. And if the victim is under 18, force or coercion does not even need to be proven. Consent is legally irrelevant. A child cannot be a prostitute. A child is trafficked. It's very important we see the distinction. Hey, Semi Sharp, good to see you, darling. So Florida's trafficking statutes, they did exist in 2008. And so he says, in my book, you are either incompetent, devious, or have no ethical compass. So you're not on my high list. Continue with your questions. I just wanted a record of that. Isn't he a dreamboat? So the attorney says, Brad, then they have to move the phone around so that they can hear this dirtbag. And he says, do you realize that you were subpoenaed to testify today in cases that involve your brother having sex or engaging in sex acts with minors, correct? And of course, his attorney form. And then he says, I know that this is a case against my brother. I know that. And you are aware that there are multiple attorneys on the phone that represent girls who were underage when Mr. Epstein had sex with them. I know there are multiple attorneys on the phone. Okay. Have you read the newspaper articles about your brother that detail your brother having sex with underage girls? The guy yells, form. I've read some of the papers. You agree that sex with minors is wrong. Form. Objection. You can answer. I have no opinion on that. He was a grown man. He says, I have no opinion on that. Okay. I'm not here to give opinions. I'm here for facts. So ask me questions about facts and I'll be glad to answer them. Well, do you agree with the laws that protect underage children from adult sexual predators? Objection. Form. My information on the case is my brother I know had to spend some time in jail for some prostitution charge. So I assume the attorneys are representing the prostitutes he was involved with. So I don't know what the ages of them are or were. I'm not involved with the case. I don't watch all the details about it. That's all. He says, would it surprise you to learn that some of the girls, 30 girls between the ages of 12 and 15 that your brother engaged in sex acts with? I don't get surprised by very many things in this world. But you and your brother are a year apart, right? 18 months. You grew up together? Sure. So when I ask you, does it surprise you? You're saying that it doesn't surprise you that your older brother engaged in sex with 30 girls between 12 and 15. Of course, objection and form. He says, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if it's true, and I don't know what the story is. It's not, ask me a question about facts. I'm not going to give you opinions. That's not what I'm here for. Then he tried to find out if he had children and he refused to answer. So this is how low that dirtbag was. He was calling them prostitutes. They were children. He's a father. I mean, right there tells you so much about these brothers.
I've got an opinion.
What's your opinion?
It's probably better that I don't say it on the air.
Hey, Katrina, I'm glad you joined us, sweetheart. Yeah. Isn't he a dreamboat?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. When I read that when I was reading the deposition, I was just like, oh my gosh. Yes. So He expressed no concern for the victims. His reasoning, his brother went to jail for being with prostitutes. That's his framing. That's his takeaway. Not that children were abused, not that there was a trafficking network operated for decades. They used some of his apartments that he owned the buildings to put the girls in. Yeah. His hands, in my opinion, I don't know if they're totally clean. Just saying.
Saying.
Allegedly. So, prostitutes, as if the word itself washes the crime away. He was just re-victimizing them in action. And that's how abusers and their enablers maintain power. By making sure that the language we use keeps the blame on the people who were harmed instead of the people who did the harming. These were children, minors. They can't consent. Not to money, not to an adult, not to anything. There is no framing, no word, no legal sleight of hand that's going to change that. Doc, for some reason,
I'm probably going to have to change those for you.
Okay, so next picture.
Okay.
So here is what I need you all to understand about the timeline of this case, because they want you to think that this was a surprise, and it wasn't. In 1996, a woman named Maria Farmer, she reported Jeffrey Epstein to the FBI. She told them about the essay. She told them about photographs of minors. She told them about a trafficking network involved. She told them about, Ghislaine Maxwell, the witch. And she named names. She gave details. She risked everything. And what happened? Crickets. They ignored her for decades. Every person who was abused after 1996, and there were many, could have been protected. The government had been told. They chose silence. And we have to ask why. Was it incompetence? Was it that these girls came from poor backgrounds and broken homes and were viewed as disposable? I'll agree, she's a demon. Was it that the man at the center of the network had the money, the connections, and the influence to make problems go away? We know that he had connections to other countries. They talk about Maxwell's father, and he was supposed to be a Mossad secret agent. And they talk about Epstein and his ties to Israel. He kept trying to get to Putin. He really wanted to talk to Putin. And they keep bringing Russia up in the files, but there's nothing where he actually talks to Putin. He just tries to get people to introduce him. He was always working on networking. That was his whole thing, was networking with important people and connecting them. And let's be honest, this dude, I don't think was as smart as everyone thinks he was. And that's why I don't think he was in charge. I don't even think the demon Maxwell was in charge. Hey, Julie's guitar. I think that this is an international trafficking ring. And once they were gone, someone else took their place. And it's still going on. Because you cannot have these kind of people that are used to these depraved acts. And once this stops, they're going to stop. It's not going to happen. It's going to continue. They find ways. And this is the pattern we see with every marginalized victim in every case we cover on this show. But let's talk about what happened recently in Congress, because it was a moment that tells you exactly where things stand. Give us the next picture, Doc. Epstein's victims were present in that hearing room. They were asked if they felt comfortable to stand up, and they did. Pam Bondi the Attorney General of the United States, the top legal person in the United States, would not even look at them. Instead, when she was asked to offer them an apology, she looked through her binder, which someone zeroed in on, and it had stuff on the Congress people that they had researched so that she could slam them. So it was a show. She was putting on a show and she failed miserably. They were asked if any of these victims had been able to speak with the Attorney General. No, not one of them. They asked if they had tried to speak to the Attorney General. They all raised their hand. And she just kept looking through her binder and then started talking about the stock market. It's like, does she not know what her job is? The stock market's not it, honey. I think the bleach has gotten to your head. Oh
no, not again.
I have just as much experience as he does. You know, they should have offered me the job. Really, joke. I mean, all the people that are in these positions, they're not doing the job. None of them are. Representative Raskin that he wasn't even a good attorney. Public. But the women who were trafficked through this network, they can't even get a meeting. And of all those millions of pages, it's only 3% of what they have. Because last year, when they first were getting everything, they thought they had around 50 terabytes of information. Terabytes. That's big. It's huge. So what they've released, which to us is a lot, is only 3%. And the things we found out in that 3%, it just makes you wonder what we're not seeing. See? And while no one from, then they were going to go ahead and they were going to finally interview Les Wexner. Okay? And he's important. Of course, none of the Republicans showed up for this deposition. But he's the one that funded Epstein. That's where he got a lot of his money from. And supposedly, what Les Wexner did was actually give Epstein power of attorney, limited power of attorney, but still. And that just, anyone that has a legal mind, you're probably sitting there trying to figure out why on earth would you give somebody power of attorney? Hey, Doc, you've got mail.
Okay.
So think about that. So they, you know, sadly, some of the people that are on the committee, they just want to talk to the Clintons. And I'm going to be direct here. This is not a red or blue issue. Children were trafficked. Every person who emailed him and maintained any kind of a relationship with the Epstein beast after his 2008 arrest for SAing children should be contacted, brought in, and have to explain themselves. Now, I'm not saying everybody that had contact with him is guilty, but they should have to come talk. And they should have to explain their relationship. Because it's very important. What did you see when you were there? Did you see anything? Did you report anything? There are so many threads that can be pulled with this kind of information. Doc, can we have the next picture?
Yep.
Now, The two people that are leading this, actually, one is a Democrat, one is a Republican. And that's Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey. And they're really leading this investigation. And they just want answers for the victims. They're not playing politics. The survivors are going to carry their trauma for life. Some have died under mysterious circumstances. There have been a lot of self-deletions that don't make sense. No political party owns this story. Okay? No one. Everybody has a part to play. These guys are spearheading the investigation, but there are other Republicans that have joined and they want answers too. We know some have even left Congress over this. So we've seen people from both parties. They're seeking answers and they're refusing to stop looking. So no political party needs to use these victims as weapons while ignoring the ones standing right in front of them. And let me talk about even on the local level. And can you take us to the next picture, Doc?
Sure.
If anyone thinks this fight is only about what happened in the past, I want to talk about something that's happening right now. This is Mike Moon. He's from the state of Missouri, and he's in the Senate. Now, they recently voted 32-1 to ban child marriage. Did you hear me? Child marriage. To set the minimum age at 18. Full stop. The bill was sponsored by one of the women, and she said the current marriage laws incentivize and legalize the trafficking of minors under the guise of marriage. Because at the time, if someone was the age of 12 and had parental consent, they could marry an adult. Think about that. A 12-year-old could marry an adult if her parents or his parents said so. That's sick. You're a sick, twisted puppy if you're letting your 12-year-old marry an adult. The only vote against it? Senator Mike Moon. And you know what he said in 2023? He says, I want you to hear this. Do you know any kids who have ever been married at the age of 12? I do. And guess what? They're still married. So someone's trauma bonded to someone because at 12 they got married to them, and you think that's something to really think about? I don't know about any of you all, but I really want to have someone check out his social media and his phone and his computer. Because if you're thinking a 12-year-old should have the right by her parents saying that she can marry or him, that's like the person that put this bill together that passed 32-1 was because they realized that this is the guise for trafficking children. Just marry him off. Hey, therapist, you know. So while we're fighting to have children recognized as trafficking victims when they're exploited, there are sitting legislatures actively blocking laws that would protect them. And we have to say their names. And so Mike Moon, let's make you famous. Because there's something wrong with you. You got screw loose somewhere, dude. You know, he said, well, the parents have the right to do what they want with their kids. No. Otherwise, there wouldn't be people in jail for child abuse. Mike? I think Mike needs to go back to school.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, something's a little off with Mike. We have to make sure people know who is standing in the way. Is this the kind of man you'd really want making any laws? Because just think, if you have a 12-year-old, do you want them marrying some old person? No. And in fact, that recently happened in Alabama, if I'm not wrong. And I think she was 15 or 16. But once that 60-year-old dude married her with parental permission, he took her to Tennessee. Tennessee don't play. They threw his butt in jail. she had to go home to her parents. Because I'm sorry, what 15, 16-year-old wants to be with some 60-year-old ugly dude? Nobody. So let's think about the list. And let's have our next picture.
Okay.
We're going to talk about people who have already stepped down, people that have resigned, and people that are being investigated, and a person that was arrested. Now, this is Lex Wexner. Now, you cannot tell the Epstein story without talking about him. He's a billionaire. He is the founder of L Brands, the parent company of Victoria's Secret, who funded Epstein and gave him access to power, money, and social standing. It opened every door for him. I'm trying to figure out what the deal was. There have been rumors about Wexner and the Beast, but I'm just saying, I don't know. Now, he finally got deposed. And like I said, none of the Republicans showed up except for Massey. The rest were pretty much the Democrats. And his own attorney, let's have the next picture, Doc. His own attorney, you guys, grabbed him by the arm and told him, I will effing kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words, okay? And then the old man pulled back and he laughed and the attorney laughed. I'm sorry, people. Number one, that looked like elder abuse. It was caught on a hot mic. He literally said he was going to kill his client. Great lawyering there,
Yep,
dude.
Yep. I want him to be my representative, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Now, he's up in his 80s, so now he's positioning himself as someone who was taken advantage of. You know, oh, poor me. The man who funded this operation, the man whose money made the network possible. He's saying he was a victim. He was a victim too. Hey, Racy, good to see you, sweetie. Next slide, Doc.
Okay.
Victoria's Secret. We don't want your secrets no more. No, you keep your secrets, honey. Because he talked about seeing Epstein monster and also the dude that lives in that White House at the shows. And, you know, and he talked about, because they were always using modeling. Yeah, we're going to get these girls model jobs, was one of the baits they use to get them. So, yeah, it was a little disgusting. So let's go to our next picture.
Okay.
Yes, very privileged. So this is Brad Karp. He's a longtime chairman of Paul Weiss, one of the nation's most powerful corporate law firms. He resigned because the correspondence with Epstein emerged, including a 2015 email thanking him for a once-in-a-lifetime evening. And the correspondence also talked about how he appreciated Epstein helping his son get a job working for Woody Allen through Epstein. Yeah, figures he'd know Woody Allen. He also knew Woody Allen's stepdaughter that he married. Yeah, these people are, you know, hey, sick puppies hang out together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's go to the next picture. This is Thomas Pritzker. He was the chairman of the Hyatt Hotels for 20 years. He resigned after emails surfaced showing he communicated with Epstein right up until the year before his arrest in 2019 on federal trafficking charges. His statement acknowledged terrible judgment. Yeah. You guys don't offer any of this until you're caught. See, none of them would be doing anything. But let's look at the next picture. This is Sultan Ahmed bin Solmai, I think is how you pronounce it. He was the CEO of DP World. That's Dubai's largest port operator. He resigned from the chairman of DP of the board and also CEO after explicit messages that him and Epstein beast shared. And in fact, one of them, the Epstein monster, told him, "I really enjoyed the torture video you sent."
Oh.
Yeah. These are sick, twisted puppies. So, and I mean, he was just, yeah, they were gross. They were gross. He also was trying to get one of Epstein's girls as a trainee and a masseuse there in Dubai. And it's also when I was thinking, you know, he was in charge of this DP port organization, which is the largest operation in the world. Wouldn't you say that would be an absolute great way to traffic people? Yeah. Exactly, Bracy. That's part of the point. Is it, you know, they resign supposedly in shame. That ain't gonna cut it. We want more. Let's go ahead with the next picture. This is Catherine Rumor? Well, that's not Catherine.
No.
She was the chief legal officer and general counsel at Goldman and Sachs. Just go back to, yeah, stay there. She resigned after files showed she received luxury gifts from Epstein, calling him Uncle Jeffrey.
Uncle
And
Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah, and exchanged messages that directly reference his victims using the prostitution framing he used to minimize his crimes. And she's an attorney. Yeah, she should resign in shame. Then we had Casey Wasserman. This is Casey. He's the chairman of Los Angeles 2028 Olympics. Now he's under pressure to step down. I don't know if he has of yet. Emails show suggestive correspondence with Maxwell the Demon years before her conviction as a child sex trafficker. So he knew her before. Hey, surf girl. And then let's go to the next picture. Now this one is very interesting. This is Lord Peter Mandelson. And he's the former British ambassador to the United States. He resigned his seat in the House of Lords. The Metropolitan Police in London have launched a formal investigation into whether he passed market-sensitive government information to the Epstein monster. Peter said that during the times he visited the island, he never saw any girls. Now, there is a picture out there of him standing in his underwear and a shirt, and there is a girl in a bathrobe, but her face is blocked out. But
So he's
Go ahead.
really doesn't do a good job of lying.
No. But here's the really interesting fact, Doc. Peter's gay and has a husband.
Uh-huh.
So maybe Epstein monster wouldn't have had girls around for someone like him, would they? No, he might have maybe had boys. And we don't hear talk about boys on the island, but I'm sure there were. Something to think about. Okay, the next one. Oh, and this one. I'm sorry, this one's close to my heart. This was after he got out of jail. The shock on his face. I love it. This is the ex Prince Andrew. Now he's just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He had to move out of the royal home in the middle of the night. He was arrested on his 66th birthday. I hope you enjoyed your gift, Andy. The files show that him and Epstein, he was brokering introductions to young women for the prince as late as 2010. And this is 2 years after he was convicted as a child predator. And there are emails where he was giving him information that he shouldn't have been giving because that was information that was privileged to his country. And I have to commend King Charles for saying the police are going to have to, handle this. and the law is going to have to take its course. I think that's awesome. And I have a feeling that from what I've really seen and read, Prince William's is really behind it because he's been fed up with his Uncle Andy for a while because he's a little perverted. Let's have the next picture. Now, this is Sarah Ferguson, and this is his ex-wife who he lived with for years after they divorced. Her charity, Sarah's Trust, announced it's shutting down. Files contained correspondence where she called Epstein the brother I always wished for. The brother I always wished for. She called the victim's allegations salacious lies because remember, Virginia Giuffre was the one that said that she was procured for Andrew. So, but in one of her emails, she asked Epstein to marry her. Ooh, that means if you looked at him as a brother, you wanted to marry your brother? Sarah. She was money hungry. I mean, she didn't know how to live within her means. She's going to have a rude awakening. She also took her two daughters who were like 17 and 19 right after he got out of jail for he was supposed to be in there for 18 months. He was only in there for 13. She took her two daughters to the island right after. Think about that. Your mother's taking you to a predator's house, to an island. He had asked if someone could give him a tour of Buckingham Palace. She said, oh, the girls can do it. Yeah. SD Surf Girl. Yeah, I have some doubts there too on that. I try to be respectful though, because I think her family has accepted it. And so, but I do have questions because I know some of the others that supposedly self-deleted, there's no way they could have. So there's a lot of questions on that. And it could be they've accepted for safety issues because if somebody did get to her, she has children. So that's something to think about. Let's look at the next slide. Now, this is Norway's former prime minister. Torbjørn Jagland has been criminally charged with aggravated corruption. And that's the first time since World War II a former Norwegian prime minister has faced criminal charges. This came directly from the Epstein files. Emails showing visits, loans, and accommodations paid on Epstein's credit card, all while Jagland communicated enthusiastically with a man he knew had pled guilty to soliciting minors. So far we've had one arrest and one that is under investigation. The others have kind of resigned. Okay, next we have Larry Summers. Next picture, Doc. Okay. Now he's stepping away from teaching duties at Harvard and his board position at OpenAI. Flight records show multiple trips on Epstein's plane, named as a backup beneficiary in an earlier version of his will. Okay, next one. This is Mona, I think, Jewel. She's the Norwegian ambassador. Now, she resigned after it was found out her children were written into Epstein's will for $10 million. Mona, what did you do to get $10 million for your kids? Yeah, I have questions, Mona. Let's see. Next, we have Joanna Rubinstein. She's the chair for Sweden at the UN Refugee Agency. Now that's interesting. Refugee agency. You would be able to get a hold of vulnerable people through a refugee agency, wouldn't you? Something to think about. Now, she resigned after files showed a 2012 family visit to Epstein's private island. All these people that kept taking their children, like, what is wrong with y'all? Next slide. Now, this is Miroslav Lajunk. I don't know. He's the national security advisor to the prime minister of Slovenia. Slovenic? Isn't that where the first lady came from? Okay. Interesting. He resigned after messages with Epstein emerged. Okay. Next, we have David Ross. He's the chair of New York's School of Visual Arts, who resigned after allegedly calling Epstein incredible in connection with a proposed exhibit featuring minor boys.
Incredible what?
Monster.
Ugh.
Next picture. Okay, guys, this dude, yeah, this is a baddie. This is Leon Black. And this piece of work, Jeffrey Epstein maintained a close relationship. He was a billionaire investor. Leon Black at times referred to him in emails as Mr. Big. Now, newly released, there are some documents showing Epstein sought information about women connected to Black, discussed surveilling at least one former girlfriend. Black has said the relationship was strictly professional, centered on tax and estate planning, and that he was unaware of Epstein's criminal conduct. However, the records show that he paid more than $600,000 in gifts to a former model associated with the Epstein monster. Were they tax credits? I'm asking for a friend. Additional allegations have also surfaced. These are bad. There is a diary attached, a girl with disabilities. She was autistic and also had Down syndrome. And Black essayed her violently. And this girl went through a lot with this group of criminals. And the fallout has extended to his company, Lifetouch. This is the nation's largest school photography company, whose parent company was acquired by Black's firm, Apollo Global Management, in 2019. Some school districts have actually paused contracts over concerns about indirect ties to the Epstein monster. Lifetouch denies any connection to Epstein and says student data has never been shared or accessed inappropriately. The reputational ripple effects on the companies connected to him, yeah. And that's one thing I want you all to think about, is one way we as just normal citizens can affect these people is through our pocketbook. If you find they have, connections to stores or different things, stop buying. Find out what we can about them, because we speak louder as a community, as if everybody joins in. And let's show the next one. And this is Steve Bannon. And this dude is just, he's disgusting. And after Epstein's 2008 conviction, Bannon reportedly met with him multiple times in New York, Paris. Media reports indicate Bannon at one point discussed helping Epstein with image rehabilitation and even did a documentary-style project meant to reshape the public's perception of the monster. Bannon has said his interactions were limited and that he believed he was advising Epstein to turn himself in and address his legal troubles. No, you weren't.
Oh, why would you be having anything to do with something like that?
Yeah, exactly. He's not been charged with any crimes related to Epstein, but a lot of people are running as fast as they can to get away from him. So the questions linger. Why would a high-profile political strategist engage Epstein after his conviction? What was the true purpose of those meetings? How many influential figures saw risk, yet maintained contact with him? Like others in Epstein's orbit, Bannon's involvement raises more reputational and ethical questions than legal ones, at least based on what we know at this point. But people are still digging.
Well, Ken makes a good point. Money talks.
Yeah. And also Bannon actually did, defraud a bunch of supporters.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually then got pardoned. So he doesn't have to pay him back. Yeah, they got to do something with this pardon power stuff. I mean, yeah, there needs to be something, because it's just getting sold right and left. Okay, let's go to the next person. This is Jess Stately, and he was the former COO of Barclays. He built a close personal and professional relationship with the Epstein monster, spanning more than a decade, long after the 2008 guilty plea for soliciting a minor. Stately visited Epstein's private island. There are hundreds of emails with him, and describing him in writing as my most important client during his time at JP Morgan Chase, which we know helped get money around. Because that's part of what this trafficking ring is, you guys. It makes money. It also they could be cleaning money through banks. I haven't run into the Karl Rove yet, SD. I'm going through what I can as fast as I can and still keep up on other stuff. Gets a little daunting. But when Staley moved to the Barclays in 2015, he failed to disclose the depth of his relationship to the regulators. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority and Prudential Regulation Authority launched an investigation, and in 2021, Stately abruptly resigned as Barclays CEO. In 2023, JP Morgan Chase itself faced and settled a civil lawsuit alleging the bank enabled the monster's trafficking by maintaining his accounts and ignoring red flags. No duh, dummies. Stately was named in that litigation with accusations that he was personally aware of Epstein's abuse of young women. He has denied those claims. His case remains a stark example of how wealth, access, and institutional silence allow Epstein's network to operate in plain sight for years. Now, there are others, but we'll save some of it for another night, because we're going to have to come back to this case at times. I don't want to just keep doing the same information over and over, but we can't turn our backs. We got to keep talking about it, because then they win. Silence is betrayal. Go to the next picture. Bill Gates was mentioned. Bill Clinton was mentioned. And go ahead with the next one. Even officials from the current administration. You have Dr. Oz, Howard Lutnick, RFK Jr. Now, like I said, just because people were on a plane with them or did things does not necessarily mean that they participated, that they knew everything. We don't want to be that judgy, but I do think every one of them needs to come in and they need to be interviewed. They need to tell what they know and when they knew it. Yeah, there is a lot here. It's going to take a lot of time to dissect this. And we only got 3% of what's there. But when it comes to the guy up in the White House and Epstein, the issue isn't about partisan politics, because I don't do politics. It's about transparency. The more powerful figures dismiss questions or call the story old news, the more it raises public curiosity. If there's nothing there, sunlight settles it. If there are unanswered questions, they deserve clear answers. There are records of victims calling in and accusing him of crimes. There are reports of girls saying that he SA'd them. And nobody did anything. And these are before he ever ran for office. Racy, I'm not judgy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to walk the fine line here. And Racy, that is hard for me. Because I do not like injustice. And I'm one of these people that when you already have a history of it, you've been convicted of it, things you've said about your own daughter. Yeah. I'm just, if you quack like a duck and you walk like a duck, you're a duck, but I'm trying to be good, But none of these people that called in were ever investigated. They did nothing. And accountability does not expire. Influence doesn't erase history. When the elites intersect with a convicted sex offender, the public has a right to ask who knew what, when did they know it, and why did the relationship continue as long as they did? That's not digging for dirt. That's demanding clarity. Racy, you're right. That's what he did say, because he wanted it to go away. He thought we were stupid. And this list, it's not finished by a long shot. These files are just starting to be reviewed. More's coming. You know, Lisa Ling's reporting from Washington, D.C. shows us that trafficking isn't that white van where the stranger grabs you off the street most of the time. I'm not saying it never happens. It's someone you know, someone who finds a vulnerable girl or boy who's lost her mom or her parents, someone from a broken home who just needs someone to tell them, you're beautiful, you know, you're good looking. And the person grooms her, makes her feel loved, and then they exploit her or him. And this is how he operated. This is how his network operated. He sent people out to hunt people for him. And this is happening in every city, you guys, in every country right now. This trafficking ring is still going on. Someone else is in charge. One of these days, we'll jump on the conspiracy theory, because I've seen them out there where they don't think he's deceased and they don't think Maxwell's the demons in prison. They think when they transferred her, they may have transferred somebody else in that looks like her. It's a whole other ball game. That's a conspiracy theory night. We'll have to do that. But the only thing that keeps this whole thing going is our silence. So what we can do, we use our voices. We don't let the stories die the way they want us to. We're not stupid. We ask where we spend our money. We ask what companies we invest in. We believe the victims. We stop mislabeling them as prostitutes. We say the names of the people who stand in the way of justice. The senators that want to block child marriage bans. An attorney general who won't even look at survivors in the eye and wants to talk about the stock market and lie. The institutions protecting the powerful instead of the children they harmed. We demand that the women who stood up in that hearing room get a meeting with the DOJ. Not that I know how to do you any good, girls, but... And, you know, remember, every killer, every abuser, every trafficker depends on someone being silent. That is not us. We are not silent. But let's talk about our missing people. And remember the faces, because some people may leave voluntarily and then they get in trouble and can't make it home. And we know trafficking is real. So if you see something, you notice someone, put that cell phone down when you're out and about. Call the authorities, call 911 if you can't remember the number. We have our tip line, which is tips, 4, Trial Junkies United @gmail.com. Trust your instincts. Don't depend on someone else. And by doing this, you actually could save a life. And that's worth it. This is Kylie Trejo. She's 18. She's been missing since February 16th. A beautiful young girl from Farmington, New Mexico. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She's 5'4" and weighs 120 pounds. Last seen wearing a black Nike hoodie, black Converse, and black pants. She was seen in the area of the Speedway at 1020 Bitsy Highway, headed eastbound on foot towards the Laterra's apartments. Contact Farmington Police Department at 505-334-6622, case number 2026-10981. Our next one is Morning Rain Chair. She's only 13. She's been missing since February 13th, Billings, Montana. She has brown eyes, brown hair. She's 5'6" and 150 pounds. Contact the Billings Police Department, you guys, at 406-657-8200, or Montana Missing Persons Clearinghouse at 406-444-2800. Our next one is Raphael Yazzie. He's 32. He's been missing since December 29th, Farmington, New Mexico. He has brown eyes and brown hair. He's 5'1" and 140 pounds. If anybody knows anything, contact Farmington Police Department at 505-334-6622. The case number is 2026-7804. Our last one is Versia Begay, 28. January 20th, she went missing from Phoenix, Arizona. She has brown eyes and brown hair. She's 5'1" and 132 pounds. She was last seen wearing blue denim jeans and a royal blue shirt. She has a beauty mark on the right side of the cheek, an unknown tattoo on her arm, and both wrists. She was last seen at the residence on 3rd Street. Contact the Metro Dispatch at 505-722-2002. Detective Michael Ely. Case number 2026-6544. Let's bring someone home. Next picture. Before we close tonight, I want to talk about something happening right now, because when we say trafficking doesn't always look like a stranger in a van, this is what we mean. This is a 16-year-old boy. His name is Sebastian. He was an asylum seeker from Ecuador. He was pulled over in Minneapolis in January. His phone was taken from him before he could finish a call to his father. Then moved and moved again. Held overnight in a hotel under guard. Flown to Michigan, placed in a federally contracted shelter under a new alien identification number. A second number that made him nearly impossible to track once he entered the system. For nearly a week, the United States government could not or would not tell his father where his child was. When his attorney filed an emergency petition, ICE responded that Sebastian did not appear to be in ICE custody. ICE had arrested him and transported him. The shelter they sent him to was Bridgeway, operated by Bethany Christian Services. And recently, they had in 2023 a counselor charged with SAing an immigrant youth up there. So state inspections found there were compliance failures, including background check issues, evidence of staff hazing the children. This facility receives millions in federal funding. Sebastian's family was able to hire an attorney. They were able to show up and physically remove him. But how many families can actually do that? How many parents are calling numbers that lead nowhere? How many children are sitting in facilities right now under identification numbers their families don't know exist? Now, we talked tonight about Maria Farmer reporting Epstein to the FBI. We talked about a system built to protect the powerful rather than the children. This is the same system, you guys. Different children, migrants, same silence. But we're not going to be quiet about it. He was placed in a federally contracted Christian youth shelter. He was given 5 vaccines. Now that makes me wonder, why would you, you're all big against anti-vaxxing, and yet you're giving vaccines to this minor child, and he doesn't even know what they were for?
Yeah, what was really in it?
Are you experimenting on children? What is going on? This is insane. They assaulted him by giving him those vaccines without his parental permission. This is trafficking. They trafficked this child. I want y'all to think about that. This is not okay. Now, like I said, we've talked, these files are huge. There's a lot of them. I'm really interested in Ranch Zorro, the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. They've been subjected to a forensics investigation now. It's one of Epstein's primary residents, but it was never treated as a crime scene. They never checked it. There are now reports saying that there are 2 bodies buried on this property. Who had the authority to keep law enforcement away from this land for so long? This ranch is isolated. It has an airstrip. Who is flying in and out? What's been done with the flight records? Victims have reported being brought here and having medical procedures. This was the ranch where the monster said he wanted to have a lot of babies. Kind of reminds you of another billionaire, trillionaire, Elon Musk, who kept asking to get to the island. I don't think he made it, but he wanted to get on the island. He sent emails, and he's trying to seed the country with, his spawn. So there are a lot of questions about Zorro Ranch. Right now, they finally found out Don Huffins, who's from Texas, and he's running for comptroller of the state, and he's a billionaire. His family bought that ranch, but they bought it under an LLC, and they created the LLC right before they purchased this property. Why were you hiding your identity? Why did it take research to find out who owned this property? Now, he says he's open to an investigation, but he's also demolishing the property right now. So can you really claim to support an investigation while destroying potential evidence at the same time? Because they say that there are underground rooms in this property. Are they going to disappear? Under what legal framework is renovation even permitted on a property that has never been cleared by investigators and may have remains buried on it? I have questions. I have a lot. And you know what he wants to do with this? He wants to build a Christian retreat for children. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I have flashing lights going off in my head.
Yep.
Going, uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. It's like, Don, do we need to look through your social media? Can I see your phone, your laptop, dude? Just saying. Yeah, you want to put a Christian retreat for children on a property where traffickers harm children. Because there was one report where some little girl said she remembered the girls being put in stables and guys being walked through so that they could look at what was available and pick what they wanted. Now, I kept thinking, I didn't see stables on the island. I saw the pictures of Zorro Ranch, beautiful stables. It's coming together. I mean, and then he chooses to go talk to Matt Gaetz and do an interview about this whole situation. Matt Gaetz has his own trafficking allegations. That's why he's not the attorney general involving a minor. Do you have no PR people, Don? Because someone in PR would have told you, number one, you don't want to be putting no Christian nothing on that site. Number two, why are you going to talk to Matt Gaetz? That man has issues because he also trafficked a young girl. So what does that choice of platform tell you about his judgment? Yeah. All while he's running for office, another billionaire wanting power. So this was also the place he wanted to do the baby farm. He wanted to seed the world with his DNA. And we have Sarah Ferguson writing an email saying, congratulations on your baby boy to the monster. Did he have a child? There are girls that said they were forced to have children. Yeah, we need, I have questions. So he had ties to scientists, geneticists, transhuman thinkers. He liked to talk about the ideology of genetically superior beings and the right to produce on a mass scale. Sounds like some other trillionaire we know. What does it tell us about the powerful men who funded him, protected him, and called him a friend? The bigger question, is there a pattern of powerful people buying Epstein connected properties specifically to control what gets found on them. If a low-income family owned a property where someone said 2 bodies might be buried, would it be still sitting there years later with nobody touching the property? No, they'd kick you out and start digging. The Virgin Islands investigated Epstein's island and sued this estate. He also was paying people in the Virgin Islands, politicians. So why has New Mexico never taken similar action against Zorro Ranch? What do the victims who were taken to that ranch want to happen to the property? Has anyone asked them? Has anyone listened? If the remains are found on the property, what then? What's the legal responsibility? We want to know who else is going to be named in these files. We want to know who else is going to resign, but we want to see some prosecutions. We want to know how deep this goes. We finally at a point where wealth and power are no longer enough to make it stop. So as Zorro Ranch is getting tore down, we want that to stop. We want to demand answers. So please, everybody, let's keep telling the stories. Let's keep putting it on social media. We can't turn our back. I know it's deep and heavy material. We're going to sparse it out. We're not going to do it all at once because it's just too much. And we have other stories that have to be told. Other big cases that need coverage. If there are certain things that you find in the files, hey, send me an email. If there's certain things you want to know about the files, send me an email. trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. Remember, slide. Every killer depends on your silence. Every predator. Please don't give it to them. Next slide, babe. Oh, that's Don. Yeah, a little squirrely guy that bought Zorro Ranch. So if you know something, speak up. Because it wasn't a mannequin, it never is. Someone knows something. Someone always knows something. And silence is betrayal. So if you have a story for us, trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. Thursday, we'll be telling another story that pertains to our Native brothers and sisters. We're sorry we missed last week. I wasn't feeling good. Hey, Billy, good to see you, darling. I understand last week Thursday I wasn't here because I wasn't feeling good. So I appreciate you guys coming tonight. This story is important. They're all important, but we need to stand for the victims. I wrote the opening song. I wrote the ending song. I hope you appreciate it. And we love you guys. Thank you for your support. It means a lot. Help us by sharing, making comments so that we can keep building our channel and get more people into our community. We want more trial junkies and truth seekers and justice warriors. We want to make a difference. So we love you. Hey, Doc, why don't you say goodnight?
Doc.
Remember, you guys, the criminals never stop, so neither do we. And until next time, you keep fighting for justice. And we'll see you Thursday night. Ciao.
You thought the files would stay buried. You thought the silence would hold. You were, we are combing through the pages. Every name, every line you hid behind your power, but your time is wearing thin. The files are open now, and the light is getting in. The predators are sweating, knowing we know where they've been. The reckoning is coming. There is nowhere left to run. They resigned to make it quiet, thought the storm would pass by. But we don't forget a name here, and we never stop asking why. The powerful fall and crumble, and demons find their way. No amount of wealth or power will keep your crimes at bay. The reckoning is coming. There is nowhere left to run. We see every name in those files, and we're not even close to done. You silence them with money. You silence them with fear. But too many know the truth now, and the reckoning is here. Overseas, the walls are cracking, the powerful start to fall. What you did inside the darkness is coming into the hall. We are waiting for the rest now. Every name is still in the shed. Your resignation means nothing. Every debt must still be paid. Now the first ones are falling, the rest are looking around. When the deal is on the table, loyalty comes unwound. One name leads to another, one file opens the next. The ones who swore to stay silent will deal with what they know. To every survivor silenced by a threat or by a name, we see you, we believe you. The blame was never yours to claim. The ones who held the power used it to steal your voice, but we are holding the line now, and you always had a choice to be believed. It's not dying down, we're just starting. Every predator will fall. No more hiding behind power. We are answering the call. We are standing with the victims. We are holding every threat. Too many know the truth now. Every word has been read. Every name will be known. Every name will be known. You thought wealth would protect you. You thought fear would silence them. You thought power was forever. It isn't. We are still here. We are still looking. We are still coming. And we are just getting started.